This is Josh Wander for Israel 365. I'm here with Yossi Cassouto, a volunteer of the ZAKA organization, and although he was not at the Lag BaOmer festivities, he did not experience what happened there that night, on that fateful night. He has been at many events, traumatic events in which he's seen very, very difficult scenes, and we want you to talk a little bit about. You don't have to go into specifics if you don't want to. It's up to you. But a little bit about your experience, the trauma that you felt in the aftermath of these events.
Yeah, so like you said, usually you don't experience right away. It's usually the aftermath. It's the next day or the night when you're trying to go to bed, and then these images go through your head and so on. And sometimes you could be going on about your day, completely different time, different the next week, the next month, and you'll see something on the side of the road that will remind you of the event and will bring you back to it. And personally, I think it's very important to speak to your coworkers, to professionals if needed. Coming into the office this morning, although I wasn't by the incident in Meron, I could tell that something was off in the office. Like, you could tell that everybody was a little on edge. People who smoke were smoking a little bit more. People drinking more cups of coffee. People a little more on edge, edgy than usual. And we try to speak to each other and vent and get it out. And it's difficult at times.
Do you know people that were there at the incident, and what are you hearing as far as feedback from those types of those people?
Yeah, so lots of my friends were there. They saw the horrors, and a lot of them had a very difficult Shabbat, had difficulty sleeping. Last night I was texting friends that were there. They were up all night trying to make sense of it all, going to Levayot and trying to make peace, I guess, to chill out and forget about it. But it's not that easy.
How does one, as you say, make peace? How does one try to rebound from such trauma?
So that's a great question. Everybody has to find what works for them. I like going on my ZAKA motorcycle, driving down the highway, listening to music, sometimes going to the kotel, screaming my heart out, and talking to friends. And like I said, if you need professionals, that's a very important way to cope with all of this.
How do you see this event of this past Thursday being different than any other event that ZAKA has experienced in the past?
So ZAKA has responded to many events, different types and different casualties. I'd say this one was the difficulty of reaching the location, of getting to the people because of the mass and the amount of people that were there and the chaos. And everybody there that usually goes there every year is part of the festivity, is part of it, and they're having fun. They see their friends. Of course, we're ready, and we have different precautions we take, and we're ready for anything that will go down. But when you're there and you're just hanging out with your friends, doing your job, you don't expect that to happen. And so it was very, very hard for people to make the switch from festivity to, that's it, we're on call, we're helping now, we're doing our job. And just the mass, the amount of people that Lalenu passed away was tremendous. And one of the bigger incidents that Israel has seen ever.
Now, you're a person that is both a first responder, medical first responder, as well as a ZAKA volunteer. How does one switch hats from at first having to try to resuscitate or to treat a victim, and then having to put that person into a body bag?
So that's very difficult. I started off as a first responder, and if we couldn't help the patient and they passed away, then usually we'd leave it to the police, and ZAKA comes and whoever takes care of the casualties in the bodies. And when I started volunteering, there was one call where I was at a terror attack next to my home, and I tried treating the best as I can, but it was It was way too much loss of blood and too much injury. And I almost left. Like, I got my stuff. I almost went on my motorcycle. I'm like, wait a second. No, I have to switch vests, switch hats, and finish the call.
I know with my personal experience, I felt that I had situations in which I had to treat people that unfortunately passed away, and had to treat them again afterwards and take care of their bodies. And I made a connection with that person's family afterwards. I don't know if you had experienced something similar, that I went to the shiva, to the funeral, to the shiva, and made a personal connection between myself and the family. And I actually felt that I was part of the family after that, because I was the last thing that this person saw before they passed away.
Yeah, and I'm sure you had a sense of closure in a way, that you did your best and you were still in touch with the family, and you took him to his funeral and so on. And so it does come to a sense of closure, and the family knows that you did your best. They spoke to you. A lot of times the families don't get that chance to speak to the person who tried helping, and actually hearing that that person tried doing their best, and the intensive care team and so on tried doing their best. And studies showed that it really does help with the families grieving, to actually be part of the treatment and helping, especially in CPRs and so on. To be part of it helps cope with loss. And so
I'll add to that, I think it also helps the first responder.
for sure. So there only been a few incidents like that where either I knew the family or I stayed around because I felt the need to, or the need to connect and maybe even deal with things through that way myself. It's difficult, you cry a lot, but ultimately that's what helps you, that's what gets you out of it.
Thank you, Yossi, and thank you for everything you do for the organization and for the Jewish people.
Thank you, Josh.